Thanks for joining me for the 2022 wrap-up video. It's also going to be my top 15 of 2022 video pretty much. But before I go into my top 15, there's a few things that I want to get out there that I'm grateful for, and then some books that I've read this year that didn't come out in 2022 that I think deserve a mention. But first off, I just wanted to say, like, this has been an amazing year for Living the Line. I know Living the Line Publishing is Sean's thing, and I do more of the reviews and stuff on here on the channel. But it's been a real honor to be a part of that, even just like being able to help him hype the books, because I really believe in the books that he's putting out. Obviously, I'm excited that he's putting out my books as well, and appreciative of that. But it's been a real great year for Living the Line. I mean, we really appreciate the explosion of growth on the channel. We've had in the last year, I mean, the opportunity to talk to a ton of amazing artists. You go back and look at the interviews we've done from like the OG, one of the greatest of all time, like Jim Woodring or Dave McKean, and some really young up-and-comers that we're super excited about, like Everett Glenn and Banu Pratap, and just a lot of the other people. I don't even know if we talked to all those people within this year. Maybe some of them was 2021. But doing the channel has really been just so amazing to get involved in the community and meet a lot of artists. And I think over the last year, 2021, I was like doing the channel, having money again, getting back into buying comics and buying books. I started where I had left off, more with like the mainstream direct market industry. And over the last year, because of the recommendations from you all and just playing around on Instagram and doing grab bag videos and all those kinds of things, I really found my way into what I want from comics, which is it seems to be more just people doing it on their own and putting that out there. And that's been really gratifying to find that, mostly through Instagram. I'd love recommendations for other venues. I can't check them all out, but I'm finding that there's a lot of really amazing stuff out there that's being sold directly from the artist to the audience. And we don't want to like cut retailers out of it, but also I think that's like a great thing. And I just love that, and that's where I'm finding most of the stuff that is, a lot of the stuff on my list is in that realm. So that's been an amazing thing, and to be able to talk to a lot of those people as they have their first project come out and make those friendships has been really gratifying, and I can't wait to. I think one of our goals for 2023 is to check back in with a lot of those people and do book reviews with them. Maybe do a little bit less interviews because it's just always a scheduling thing. But that's at least at the beginning of 2023. One of my big goals is check back in with as many people as we can that we've interviewed and do books with them. So that's been amazing. And then the support and the growth on the channel, we made it over 2,000 subs, and now we're almost at 2,200 within a couple weeks. So like the growth just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we appreciate that. It's amazing because it gives us the opportunity to make those connections and to make those interviews. And we hope this is all beneficial for you. We really appreciate all the people that are taking part in this contest that's going on right now. If you didn't know, we're running a 2,000 subs contest, and one of the components of that is a contest where I have a whole folder full of comic pages, about 800 pages that I designed with Midjourney. They're really poor, like the image quality is really abstract and poor, but the page designs are amazing. We've been having people take these images that look like these blue line things, and then they've been inking them. So we're trying to reclaim some agency back from the AI, and hopefully we'll do a collection of these, maybe, I'm not sure. But that we've been getting, I mean, everything that we've seen has been an amazing result so far. And every one of the people that have emailed me one of these images has told me how much this did for them as an artist, which was my experience, which is why how I came up with the idea for the contest. I did a couple of these for a book that's coming out in February, Told to Tell #5. Check that out. Me and Sean have a 3-page in there, and we'll be promoting that a little bit more as we come. But a 3-page collaboration between us and Midjourney, where Midjourney designed it and me and Sean drew on top of it and put it all together. That was so enriching for me that I wanted to share that experience, and it seems like everyone who has done that has benefited from it. So hopefully there's still time. We have until January 7th. I'll try and get this video up before then. Hopefully there's still time for people to participate. So I'll put a link to the Google folder that you can get to down in the description below, and that's where all the 800 are. And then you just email that to me at my email, clubgrubbug@gmail.com, and I'll have that down as well. And as long as you get them in by January 7th, you're in. Everyone that you enter is just an entry in the drawing. It's not going to be based on our favorite one or anything like that. It's just the more pages you turn in, the more raffle tickets you get, basically. And the prize will be the books, all the books that Sean has up through like January or February from Living the Line, which by that time will be a pretty good chunk of books. So I also wanted to say that, like, this year has been really, really gratifying for us because of what Sean's been able to do with Living the Line Publishing. The first really awesome thing that happened was Sean's first book, which is my collaboration with Dave Sim, The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, has still been selling pretty consistently, which is we're really happy about. But the most exciting thing is we got nominated for an Eisner for this book, and we got to go to San Diego and attend the Eisner Awards, and that was a real highlight of the year. And yeah, I can't fathom that. This is the first time I've ever had a book published, and then we were at the Eisner. So that was a real highlight of the year. We really appreciate that. Then this year, that came out in 2021. This year, Sean has released a couple other books. The first follow-up to Strange Death of Alex Raymond is Yokoyama Yuichi's Plaza, which is a really, really amazing manga book, a really experimental manga book, and you can see it's a big book. You know, this is a standard tankobon size, so it's a really nice big manga, and with Sean on production, it's impeccably produced, and Yokoyama Yuichi is just one of the most exciting artists to me, so that was really cool. And then there's another book I'll put up an image on screen of called Path of the Shades. I don't have a copy of that, but that's by Clarence Doss. He's an author from Fiji who's also researching the mythology and the history of mythology of Fiji, and then each issue is exploring one of those, and those are also attached to his dissertation, his PhD dissertation. So they're attached to an academic project, and that project has been doing very well. It's a really cool book that Sean has out. There's also two books coming out right at the beginning of 2023 that have ended their crowdfunding campaign phase, and now those books will be going out, and then it will be headed to the direct market and the bookstore market, and that's Eric Creek's The Exile and Miel van de Piet's Centralia, which are both these just absolutely gorgeous books, both Dutch artists that Sean licensed from Scratch Books, which is a Dutch publisher. And then the thing that I'm most excited about and grateful about this year, but the book I'm most grateful for this year, book I'm most grateful that exists, I guess I should say, is The Abolition of Man. Just today, I got my copy. Sorry, mirror here. I got my copy. This should be out in shops in 2 weeks from now, so probably second week of January. I got my copy of issue 4, which is one of the most distressing and disturbing comics I've ever read. It was written and illustrated by an AI. So I forego all blame for what's in this issue, but it's a very disturbing, distressing book, and it's a peek at what could happen if AI made all of our entertainment for us, and it's not a great picture. But the thing I'm most proud of is just the series as a whole. There's 4 different parts split between 5 issues, and I think it holds together as a really interesting package with 4 very distinct parts that still hold together. And I'm especially excited, probably just because it's the part that we had most control over. I'm especially excited about the Hodtech storyline, which is issue 2 and 3, and those are already out and you can get them. And that's a 2-part story set in a dystopian future. And so I'm really, really grateful for everyone who's helped us hype that book. This is in my estimation, the emergence of AI art making is the biggest thing in art since the first caveman with a mouth full of juice spat at his hand on a wall and made the first piece of art, made the first drawing by, like that's as far as we know, the first piece of art. And I really, really do believe that there's that. Maybe Marcel Duchamp, but even more important than Marcel Duchamp, I think, will be the AI art. And so to have been able to be involved in that and put out the world's first entirely illustrated by AI comic series and have something to say about it and do all these videos, to work with someone of the caliber of Luciano Floridi, an Oxford professor, philosopher of information, who's given policy guidance to the EU, the UK, Google, places like that. He wrote issue 5 and did a video with us that's forthcoming. We've just had all these amazing opportunities because of the AI stuff, including our interview with Dave McKean and just a lot of stuff like that. So I've been very, very grateful, not necessarily for the technology. The technology is fun, but also distresses me. But I'm very grateful that when I texted Sean, holy crap, look at this, his immediate response is, we need to do something with this. Let's make a book. And that he trusted me and like saw my vision for it, and we just went with it and we rushed it and got it out and got it done so we could claim that first thing. So really appreciated for all of that, and none of that could be done without the people supporting stuff, sharing what we're doing, subscribing to the channel, buying the books, like that. That's just all been really, really amazing, and we really appreciate it. Before I show my top 15, because I did do so much. I bought so many comics this year. I need to control myself a little bit next year, hopefully. Um, but I went a little wild this year, and I really got a huge breadth of stuff I've never seen before. So that means I was finding artists who didn't put something out this year, but they're people that they really probably are some of the most impactful books on me this year. And finding these artists' work and grabbing their entire body of work has really transformed the way I look at comics. So I want to give a shout out to a couple of those. Last year, I talked about how much Inio Asano's manga, including Dead Demons Destruction, has been influencing me, his entire body of work. But this is what's still coming out. So some issues, some of the volumes of this did come out this year. But this has been an ongoing influence on me since the last year as well. I mentioned it last year. The same applies to the works of mangaka Shuzo Oshimi. I just got this a couple days ago, his latest volume of Blood on the Tracks. This series in particular has absolutely shattered me. I think it's one of the best comics I've ever read, honestly. The writing and the art is just absolutely astonishing on it. But again, this is something that's been coming out for a couple of years now, so it felt a little strange to kick other things off of it. But I want to acknowledge, and I've been digging into his backstory, back catalog. I got some of Happiness, some of Flowers of Evil, getting Welcome Back Alice, and Avant-Garde Yumiko. So I've been getting a lot of his work. I haven't talked about all of it on the channel. I really want to get into it with Sean, but he's really influencing me. I go on and on the channel about Andrew White, but he did produce a book this year, yearly 2022, but it didn't make. I don't want to put it on my list because it's just the fact of his work existing and the gigantic. I mean, this shelf behind me, there's a big chunk of that that's devoted to Andrew White's work now because he's extremely prolific as well as a great artist. So his work has been continuing to influence me. Two other artists actually that I found this year are Roman Muradov. This book, Vanishing Act, it's another one I haven't reviewed on the channel because I really want to do it with Sean because these books that really, there's a lot to talk about. I like doing that with Sean to really get into it and have time. But this book is an amazing book. I don't think this came out this year. No, I got it from Fantagraphics, but it came out in 2018. This book led me to search out his other work. I haven't got all of it, but the stuff I have is all amazing. This is definitely my favorite. But he's absolutely making me, with a couple other people, making me reconsider my art style in general, pushing it towards a more like New Yorker cartoon simplified abstract style. He's really helping me see the benefits of that. And just an astonishing artist and really clever writer. So his works have been influential. And then thanks to Menachem at Escape Pod, in one of the grab bag videos that I did, I send Menachem $100 and he'll just send me some stuff he thinks I should check out. He gave me Gareth Brooks' The Dancing Plague. And I immediately went and ordered everything Gareth had in his web shop because it was one of the, oh my God, this is a mind-blowing comic. And it actually wound up being as good as it is, like a mid-tier Gareth Brooks book in the sense that there's like, all his other stuff is amazing. And even, all of them are good. And then there's some that personally hit me more. And so 1,000 Colored Castles and its follow-up, there's a follow-up, a little funny follow-up to this book and one of his other books. I forget what that's called. I didn't pull it out, but those combination of books really, really touched me. And again, Gareth is somebody, I've been saying this all year now, he seems to be in this wave of people who's not attached to the history of comics. I've been talking about Clowes and Ware as people who took comics to art school, and Gareth Brooks is one of these people that is bringing art school to comics. And that's what I found in comics this year that really, really has me excited, is I've seen a lot of things where I feel like art is coming to comics instead of comics trying to level itself up to art. And then because of that, we are leveling up. We're not so tied to the past. Like someone like Clowes or Ware is really, really obsessed with the history of cartooning. And that was great, but I think it was a diminishment of sort in terms of being able to move forward. We had to process that stuff and get it out of us, but now we're past it and we can go somewhere else. And that's what people like Gareth Brooks feel like to me. Another artist who I read this year that gives me that same sensibility of like real hardcore literature and real hardcore art, like art school training and thought processes, is Austin English at Domino Comics. And this book also did not come out this year. This came out last year in 2021, but I just read it a few months ago. So Austin English's Meskin and Umezo was really one of my favorite reads of the year. I just can't say it's a book that came out in 2022. So those are all things that have really impacted me this year. Mostly just like those bodies of works by artists, especially the ones that are bringing art school to comics. Those have really impacted me. But that's all. All that said, now let's get to what we're here for, which is the top 15. These are in no particular order. I just grabbed them all off my shelf. I definitely have my book of the year pulled aside. I've already talked about it a little bit for Omar at Near Mint Condition. Omar, who's someone who has a huge YouTube channel, 70,000, 80,000 followers, has been very kind, and he's helping promote smaller channels like ours. First up, Omar also, I should have known this book, but I looked at Omar's top 10, and he reminded me that this was on my shelf. I just know this series didn't come out in 2022, so I wasn't thinking about it, but when I realized that I got this hardcover did get produced, I'd go ahead and throw it in there. I love Daniel Warren Johnson's art, Murder, and his stories. All of his books are great. Murder Falcon's no different. He knows how to hit this perfect combination between just pure stupidity, like I'm going to make a book about a guy who plays heavy metal and that instantiates a cybernetic falcon to beat up monsters. You know, it's like, that's a stupid premise. I never want to read it. But then he always manages to instill it with real stuff, you know. It seems to me like he's gone through some real harsh real life stuff, probably related to cancer, given what I've read in a couple of his books, especially in this book. But he's definitely dealt with suffering and loss, and he's able to talk about those really important things in a really fun way. So it's not like you're being overloaded with that, but it's also not just explosions and stupidity. And that combination between two things I find really heartening. And then he's an amazing artist. So they're just fun books. They're thoughtful books. I really love them. Another thing that a lot of these are just collections of things that came out this year that have been out for a while. But these two A Silent Voice hardcover collections, they collected the whole series. I've heard a lot about it, never read it. Grabbed these because of the nice hardcover instead of going back and buying all the little floppy tankobon ones. And man, I get it. I get why this is such an important book. Like, it's a really even-handed look at bullying, and like the fact that sometimes the bullies, you know, there's a reason they're doing that too, but also like not giving him a pass. And so I feel like this is a really, really maturely written book that's full of empathy and sympathy. And it like, this is the kind of outlook that I feel like if we could all take in our personal lives, like the world would be a better place without having to take any political action. It's just, if we could all learn to think this way and grow and heal and forgive like they do in this book, the world would be a better place. And so for that, I just think this is such a powerful story, and that the writing in it is astonishing. Another book that I'm really, really happy for, sorry, I throw away my dust jackets, so some of these might look a little crappier than actually they should. But Curse of the Chosen by Alexis Deakin is one of the best fantasy books I've seen in a long time. It has real Charles Vess vibes, and we were lucky enough to get to interview Alexis as well. And just a real treat of a guy. Really looking forward to talking to him. I think we're going to try and talk to him about something by Miyazaki, probably the Shunga's Journey, because that's new out. But I'm really looking forward to checking back with Alexis. He was a real pleasure. And I had seen this book from Nobrow. I got the first volume that was at the time called Geish, and then I didn't think the series was going to be completed because I just didn't see anything. And so for them to re-release it in this more kid-friendly format and have the series completed is awesome. And I liked the book in the first volume, but when I read the second and the third volume, it was like, oh, this shit is good. Like, I just had a fun fantasy story in the first volume, but when you get to the end, you're like, this is the highest caliber of fantasy. And so I really liked that. Tommy Musturi, another person that we made friends with, and I got to interview him. I did that by myself because Sean was moving or sick or something. He had a lot of work out. He sent me everything that he's done, and it was amazing. Go check out that review. But the series he's currently working on, and this is the latest issue, is Future, and Future is just a hell of a book as well. It's a really astonishing look at what the future could be. We'll take a closer look at all of these. Glaeolia. This is another one that I really, really appreciated this year. This is an anthology, and they're bringing over indie artists from Japan. And so it's really nice to get that kind of exposure to what's going on in Japan. And that's Glacier Bay, the publisher of this book, that's pretty much their whole publishing like MO is those kind of artists. And so I've become a huge fan of Glacier Bay this year and what their agenda is as a publisher, and I really hope people go support them. And these Glaiolia books are a great way to start getting exposure to what they're doing. Another really, really awesome like small press publisher that I found this year is K-Blind Books. It's a French one, so I had to get this imported. So it was a little bit more expensive, but I did a video of this. There's actually 16 of these cool little things that came in a box set, and they have these other little comics in them. So not necessarily the best stories or anything, but just one of the most interesting and gorgeous pieces of production I've seen this year. You can go check out that video as well. Birds of Maine by Michael DeForge. Anytime there's a new Michael DeForge book, I'm excited. It's probably going to wind up on my end of the year list. This is near the top of my Michael DeForge books. It's not my favorite one, but it's near the top, and pretty much anything by his is better than anyone else. So this is really fun. I've been following this on Instagram, but on Instagram I wasn't able to keep hold of the story as well as I was in this book. So I really liked having it collected and being able to see it all at once. Another book that really impacted me this year was Castaways by Laura Perez. This is actually her first book, and what I've seen of where her art has gone, she's gotten even crazy better than what's in here. But also the writing in this book is astonishing. It's just a really good, mature like relationship drama over time, and it's really well structured. So that's an awesome book. Decorum by Jonathan Hickman and Mike Huddleston. This for me is more about Huddleston's art, like just the amount of styles he cycles through in this book and how well he handles all of them just astonishes me. I also think it's a good story. Hickman's writing is, for me, there's parts I like and parts I don't like in all of his stuff, but Mike Huddleston shines so much in this. I had to put it on my list. And when we're talking just about art, I mean, didn't really like any of the writing in this book. It's fine, it's fun stuff, but nothing great. But just so happy to have this book, this gigantic deluxe Jimenez. I hope Humanoids continues and collects the rest of his work in this format, because this nice big book with just all of these beautiful images, I mean, I could just sit here and stare at this all day. And I think this has some of the stuff in here. Well, I don't know, Meta Barons is pretty off the chain, but I think just because this is bigger, I didn't get the biggest Meta Barons book I could get. I really like having this gigantic book. Uh-oh, stack's getting too heavy here. Another book that I've already read it. I've had earlier printings of this, but it never got finished. So this is a book I'm just grateful for. I can't say I haven't even read this version because I've already read it. I flipped through it. But I'm just super happy that this is out and that it's going to get completed. I know Bastien Vives just has been being raked through the coals, so I hope that doesn't affect the contract that he's got with Skybound for them to finish printing this series, because I'm really, really looking forward to the series being finished. And his current public lambasting for, I don't know what, he drew a comic with a kid with a boner. As far as I can tell, I just really hope that doesn't delay that, because it's a great series and I really want to see it finished. Guillaume March's Carmen. This is a really amazing book. A lot of Milo Manara influence, a lot of Guido Crepa influence, but also just some really amazing emotional writing and really great lines of dialogue and astonishing, fantastical art in this book. Really beautiful production from Image Comics. That's a really good book. As we head towards the end here, these are definitely books that would vie for number one. They're all vying for number one. I think these are just all really astonishing books to me, things that I just keep thinking about. So the first one, there's not any writing in it, and that's the only thing that really is holding it back. It's an entirely visual book, and it's this really nice little hand-bound production that was sold directly by the artist Gisem Virol. And just, this is abstract poetry comics at its best, and I know that's not for everyone, but I really feel in terms of art school coming into comics, this is another one of those ones where there's really not just much of a precedent in the cartooning history of comics for this kind of thing. I know there's been poetry comics, but Gisem just really, along with Hugh Nguyen, whose books I've reviewed, has seemed to refine this type of, I call it the poetics of form, that they're playing with the poetics of form. And so there's just nothing, there's no precedent for this. You you couldn't talk about this in terms that Scott McCloud or someone like that would. And her sense of line and color and composition is just astonishing me and really, really pushing me as an artist. So I really appreciate this book. I look at it a lot, and I obsessively follow Jazem on Instagram, and she's been very kind about answering some questions that I've asked about her process and stuff like that too. So apologies, Jazem, if I've been overbearing with my interest in your work, but I'm trying to learn from it. It's really good. Keeping to, this was real contender for a book of the year. It's impeccable cartooning, impeccable production, gorgeous, just gorgeous book. And then the writing in it by the end of the book, it just really grabbed me right in my guts and spoke to me personally and like punched me in the guts. And from what I've seen is a lot of people react that way. And so I just think this is a real masterpiece. And Jordan Crane is someone I feel guilty that I did not know about his work until this year. I've tried to go out and get as much of his stuff as I can, but most of it's out of print. He doesn't have it on his website anymore. And that bums me out because I feel like, man, this dude's been doing this since the 90s as far as I can tell, and there's a lot of stuff I missed out on. But this is a masterpiece. It's a real masterpiece. Another one that was, sorry, not used, I'm grabbing manga backwards. Another book that really kicked me in the guts this year, Sensei's Pious Lie. This was a 4-volume, these are thick volumes, so I think it's really more like a 8 to 12 volume manga that's been collected in kind of these oversized formats. But this is one of the most mature, interesting, down-to-earth dramas I've ever read. It's exactly the kind of thing that in my 40s I want out of a comic. This is real-world stuff, real-world people dealing with really hard real-world traumas, and there's no ham-fistedness about it. There's no one-linerness about it. It's all nuanced and complicated with like no preaching and no answers, dealing with one of the most difficult subjects that you could imagine, sexual assault and rape and abuse. And to take on something that weighty and do it so well and do it so sensitive, but also so even-handedly, is amazing. The scene that early on really blew me away is that this woman, the sensei, the teacher, she, having been assaulted herself, finds it impossible to believe that her male student has also been molested, and those two things coming together makes the series, and that makes it very powerful. And the kind of like pain and healing that goes into this book is just astonishing writing to me. And the decompressed style of storytelling that's going on in these books and Blood on the Tracks and Inio Sano stuff, that's been influencing me a lot. The gesture and the subtlety and the focusing on the small expressions. I can't speak to how much I sit around thinking about that stuff. And that book was absolutely one of them. The reason I'll put this in my top 15 is because this mostly all came out this year. It's not something that's been going on a long time, and it finished this year and it's complete. And so this is absolutely one of the best things I've read this year. And then my top pick of the year, I said it when this came out. Me and Gareth Brooks, who I talked about early, actually did a review of this book, Verona Mukic's Cyberman. I said it when I read it. I said, this is probably going to be my book of the year. There's a big challenge to anyone to beat it, and no one matched it. This is art school coming to comics. Things I've never seen done with comics before. Beautiful stuff, amazing writing, just so interesting, and taking such a strange... There's something else that I appreciate about in Japan is that their premises are often... it might seem stock to them, but to me they don't seem stock. And this book is like the most interesting. Like, how could you take that premise of watching a man on the internet who does nothing and make the most emotionally impactful book of the year? And the most beautifully illustrated, the most formally compelling, the most like the silliest thing, like someone finding out your like seeing your, I don't know, screen name on the internet. I don't want to give away the exact scene, but there's this really banal thing that happens, and it's more of a like oh shit moment than, I don't know, like someone getting their head chopped off in like Game of Thrones that you really care about or something. To be able to put that much power into such a non-moment of a book is what really makes this one the best for me. And I've seen a couple of Veronica Mukic's other books, and or not books, but little short stories in like Now and stuff. And this is absolutely one of the comics creators that I just cannot wait to see more from. And just hope is someone that's prolific and puts out a lot of books, and I will be obsessively collecting Veronica Mukic stuff as much as I can. So that is absolutely my book of the year. So yeah, if you want to learn more about each book, if something really caught your eye, then go ahead and follow all the links that we post, and you can check out that book individually. I'll flip through, show you the art, give you a real kind of intense insight into what I took away from each one of these books. So those are my top 15. Again, we've had an amazing year on the channel, and that's because of all your support. So we really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to a really awesome 2023. We have some couple cool announcements coming up, some cool little features that we're going to be adding to our Patreon and stuff like that. Some restructuring of the Patreon. A lot of awesome comics that haven't been announced yet that I know Sean is preparing for publishing. We're working on trying to see if we can make it feasible to do a collected edition of Abolition of Man, and I'm really, really proud of the design ideas that I've come up with that. So I'm not sure that it's going to happen exactly the way I've envisioned it, but we're working towards that, seeing if we can figure it out. And just a lot of other cool stuff coming up. So stick around. I hope you enjoyed the ride, and we really enjoy your guys' appreciation. Have a great 2023.
Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.